This video contains disturbing content, violent content, scary content, flashing lights and sudden loud noises. Viewer discretion advised.
Ano, děti, jako váš poradce vím, že pro vás bývá těžké mluvit o takových věcech jako drogy, sex a alkohol. Ano, proto jsem vám minulý týden řekl, ať takové ožahavé dotazy, které vás trápí, vhodíte anonymně do této krabice, abychom si je při naší hodině mohli probrat, ano?
Tonight we are looking at fentanyl, the powerfully dangerous opioid which is killing more people here and all over the country.
So all month long, Arizona's family is investigating where the drug is coming from and how it is impacting families here in the desert Southwest. Let's start at the beginning. What exactly is fentanyl? Here's Chris Pickle.
The drug fentanyl was created almost 60 years ago as a painkiller, and there's no doubt it works. It's 50 times stronger than heroin. But as well as being dangerously potent, it's also highly addictive, which has now transformed it from painkiller to plain killer. In the United States, a national emergency has been declared because of an epidemic of fatal fentanyl overdoses, deaths which include entertainment icons Prince and Tom Petty.
We are certainly in the middle of a crisis, a public health crisis, an epidemic of proportions that we have not seen.
It's an opioid wreaking havoc across Arizona.
We're going to see a lot more deaths.
The drug fentanyl is everywhere.
Some news sources have coined fentanyl as the deadliest drug in the world. So it's pretty deadly. It can be potent in first use. Someone could die, could overdose from one-time use.
It's 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine.
Fentanyl is an extreme opioid.
In recent weeks, we've been detailing its deadly impacts. Families losing loved ones to accidental overdoses. According to the Arizona Health Department's website, since 2017, more than 18,000 people in our state have OD'd on opioids, with more than 2,400 deaths. Fentanyl is playing a big role in the rising death rates.
Currently, most of the overdose deaths are related to fentanyl.
58,000 Americans were killed in the Vietnam War. In 2018 alone, over 67,000 were killed by drug overdoses. In 2017, it was over 70,000. In 2016, over 63,000. The war on drugs is a Vietnam War every year. Most of these staggering numbers have been driven by what's become known as the North American opioid crisis.
Narrowed it down to literally 2 overdoses a month, and the rate I'm going, I may not see 32.
But how did we get here? How did a toxic mix of the war on drugs and a profit-driven medical system get us to a place where overdoses now kill more Americans than gunshots or road accidents? But because they're potentially addictive, traditionally these drugs were tightly controlled. Doctors would keep a close eye to make sure their patients weren't becoming dependent. But then, in the 1990s, researchers at a pharmaceutical company spotted an opportunity. They began pushing the idea that opioid pain medication was actually much less addictive than previously thought. And why were these companies so desperate to convince doctors that they could prescribe far more powerful opioid medications? Because there were billions and billions of dollars to be made. The market leaders in this, though by no means the only ones at it, were Purdue Pharma, pushing their shiny new pill, OxyContin.
So I used to call on a doctor in this corner suite right here. And so I started calling on him on a frequent basis and talking to him about OxyContin. He started writing OxyContin.
They were wildly successful. Between 1997 and 2002, prescriptions for OxyContin increased from 670,000 to 6.2 million.
Playing football, I had an awesome year. And the game before the playoffs, I tore my knee. I just had a fucking doctor that wanted to give me all these pills. I kept going back to the dude and he was giving me, you know, whatever. He said these 5s aren't working right. I need something stronger. So he gives me 7.5s and some Dilaudid.
By the time opioid prescribing peaked in 2012, 255 million prescriptions were written. And over 10% of US counties Enough opioid prescriptions were written for every single citizen to have one. But there was a problem. If you hand out hundreds of millions of opioid pills, a lot of people are going to get addicted. Since its very beginning, the drug war has been targeted at ethnic minorities and the poor. But now, with opioid prescribing, millions of people were getting addicted in white suburban neighborhoods. So, millions of people who'd become dependent on these medicines were suddenly cut off by their doctors. And this is where the true opioid crisis really begins. The greatest myth of the opioid epidemic is that the whole thing was caused by overprescribing. But it's not a true crisis until you add the war on drugs. Those addicted patients didn't just stop needing the drugs because their prescriptions ran out. So millions of them turned to the black market and started buying heroin. Inevitably, some of those users started dying. This is the point on the graph where heroin deaths begin to climb. Now, if there'd been suitable treatment options available, this crisis might have been averted, or at least eased. But unfortunately, authorities in both the US and Canada chose to deal with it the same way they've tried to deal with drug addiction for a century, as a war.
The problem with abstinence-only treatment is that it doesn't really deal with the biology of addiction. The fact that people's brain changes after they've been using opioids for long amounts of time.
Fentanyl is not a new drug, but has seen such a dramatic increase in the past 3 years that it has become a crisis in North America. Simply touching it may cause you to overdose, so what exactly does it do to your brain and body? Fentanyl is an opioid that can inhibit pain signals in multiple pathways along the brain and spinal cord. This is why it was initially prescribed for pain relief. It also causes your brain to make extra dopamine, creating sensations of intense euphoria and relaxation. Essentially, fentanyl hijacks your body's built-in system of endorphins by binding to your opioid receptors much in the same way your endorphins do, but at a significantly stronger level. This might sound fun, but activating these receptors can also suppress your brain's ability to detect CO2 levels in the body, potentially causing a person to stop breathing. On top of this, side effects include dizziness, chills, vomiting, fainting, difficulty urinating, and extreme constipation. In addition, fentanyl is much stronger than other opioids, 100 times stronger than morphine and 50 times stronger than heroin. For many drugs to work, they need to pass the blood-brain barrier. This barrier allows small fat-soluble substances to pass and water-loving molecules to be inhibited. Both morphine and heroin are lipid-soluble, but they have polar, water-loving groups that make them pass the barrier much more slowly, whereas fentanyl is extremely nonpolar and fat-soluble, entering the brain within seconds. This means you only need tiny amounts to get high, and that's where, in part, the danger lies. A lethal dose of fentanyl can be around 2 milligrams, in a test tube that looks like 2 grains of salt, and since a high level of precision is needed to dose it effectively, it's very easy to overdose. In fact, there are some reported incidents of first responders ODing from simply touching fentanyl powder or inhaling its dust, though some toxicologists doubt the accuracy of these cases. If it can be administered in time, an injection of naloxone can be given to a person, which works to stop an overdose by blocking opioid receptors. But the science cannot keep up with the rate of new fentanyl analogs being produced, like carfentanil, which is 10,000 times more powerful than morphine and has been cited for its possible use in chemical warfare. Today, drug overdose deaths in America are rising faster than ever, with 65,000 deaths in 2016 compared to 59,000 in 2015, and opioid use is the crux of the problem. For context, this is higher than the peak gun deaths, peak HIV deaths, and peak car crash deaths. All evidence points towards the problem worsening by the end of 2017. The reason? Research points to widespread prescription of opioids for pain, which leads to addiction. There's also an ease of access for non-prescribers, causing millions of tablets to fall into the wrong hands. As the danger became more clear, doctors decreased prescriptions of opiates, but this didn't change the fact that thousands of people were addicted, causing them to seek out illegal markets. With an increase in demand, illicit drug markets turned to cheaper production solutions. Unlike heroin, which is synthesized from poppies, fentanyl is entirely synthetic and can be made anywhere for cheap. China has become a heavyweight in manufacturing fentanyl, and North American law is working to seize supply. However, the UN urges that solutions to the crisis will lie in persuading people not to use opiates, as blocking China's market may simply cause production to move to another nation. Several experts are calling for government support for safe consumption sites where people suffering addiction can be supervised, minimizing risk of overdose, and be supported with counseling and anti-withdrawal drugs that can help people stop using.
This dot represents 10 people. And this dot represents 100 people. In 2015, this many died from gun violence in America. This many died in car crashes. But even more Americans died from a drug overdose. 52,000 people. That's more people than there are seats at Yankee Stadium. More people are dying because of the opioid epidemic, a public health crisis that is causing waves of progressive drug use. First, Americans got hooked on prescription painkillers. Next, addicted users moved on to more potent drugs, like heroin. Now, an increasing number of Americans are overdosing on an even more powerful opioid.
Fentanyl is taking the opioid epidemic to a new level.
More potent than heroin.
Another drug is surging.
Fentanyl, so potent you could die with the syringe still in your arm.
The explanation for the rise of fentanyl begins in the late 1990s. In the 2000s, the government took steps to limit the supply of prescription pills. Pharmaceutical manufacturers were sued for falsely marketing their products as non-addictive. Doctors were prosecuted for overprescribing pain pills, and authorities tightened limits on painkillers. By 2013, prescription drug abuse leveled off as pills became harder to find. But that didn't help Americans who were already hooked. When addicts couldn't get pills, they found more dangerous drugs. Many started using heroin, an extremely potent opioid that is made from the sap of the opium poppy. It's this transition that has led the opioid crisis to epidemic proportions. The Center for Disease Control found that people addicted to prescription painkillers are 40 times more likely to be addicted to heroin. Heroin is more potent than prescription pain pills, and therefore more lethal. Soon, heroin overdoses began skyrocketing. And as usage became widespread, users with a high tolerance for heroin began seeking even stronger opioids. And that's part of what led to fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is more powerful and cheaper to make than heroin. Unlike heroin, fentanyl can easily be made in a lab. It was first developed as an anesthetic for surgeries in the 1960s, and later found use as a treatment for chronic pain in the 1990s. Since then, it continues to be approved for restricted medical use and is prescribed for advanced cancer patients. In regulated medical settings, fentanyl is often delivered by injection or as a patch or lozenge, forms which allow the drug to be released gradually. Similar to other opioids like morphine and heroin, fentanyl sedates the user by reacting with receptors in the brain to release dopamine. But fentanyl is about 100 times more potent than morphine. Drug traffickers have been using it to cut heroin to increase the potency and profits from their product. So heroin addicts can consume fentanyl unknowingly, which increases the chances of an accidental overdose. Exposure to the drug is so dangerous that the CDC requires first responders to wear protective gear when fentanyl is suspected at a scene.
It's a scary
In Ohio, an unprotected police officer accidentally overdosed after particles of fentanyl settled on his clothing during a traffic stop.
That he just accidentally bumped up against something while he was searching his vehicle, and for him to drop out like that, it's shocking.
3 years after heroin deaths began to spike, fentanyl overdoses began rising. Already, new opioids are fulfilling the next iteration of this progression. Carfentanil, an opioid used as an elephant tranquilizer, is a growing cause of overdoses in the United States. This photo compares a potentially lethal dose of all three drugs, showing that it could take just a few grains of carfentanil to kill someone. The fact that cracking down on prescription painkillers has pushed users to even more dangerous opioids demonstrates the need for better drug policies. In addition to targeting the supply of drugs, providing better treatment options for addiction will reduce the demand for them. In 2016, preliminary estimates of Americans that died by drug overdose are as high as 65,000 people. Experts estimate 2017 will be even worse. As long as people are addicted, they're going to find ways to satisfy that addiction, even if it means using more dangerous drugs like fentanyl.
I've seen more deaths in the last 2 years than I've seen in my entire life.
Hey, rafiki yangu. Wewe, habari yako?
We are entering a city within the city. It's not a physical place. It has no borders. It's rather an hallucination inhabited by tens of thousands of kids. A dark, obscure, and brutal place, hidden inside many plastic bottles. If you open them and sniff what's inside, you'll wake up in a world of zombies. This is the story of the zombies of...
Budete sázet, pane? Už nemám nic, jenom svoji duši. Mrdám to. All in. Bohužel, pane, prohrál jste. Hades pes. Duševní bankrot. 2013. ZNK. Bitch. Strach a hnus na furt mý head. Nevím, jestli chci žít nebo být dead. Oh shit, rozdvojený jak Two-Face. Chtěl jsem to zastavit, bohužel too late. Hades ve mně pořád roste, ventiluje svůj hate. Nenechá mě bejt, zas mě nutí jít late. Fetovat a být zlej, zmrdl přidej. Jak dlouho ještě, dokud bude živej. Prokletej, ale vybral jsem si sám. Začalo to, když jsem si poprvé řekl, že si dám. A testuju sám na sobě, kam až se dá zajít. Balancuju na hraně, ale zatím jsem neslít. Co není, může být. Držu boty sračko, kvůli tomu, že si v hajzlu tě furt hard bombí jak kličko. Agresivní smrt versus depresivní stáč. Vzájemně se nesnáší, přitom jsem to furt já. Nenávidím se a zároveň se mám rád. Nejde si vybrat, nejde si vybrat. Z levý strany slyším svůj hlas, Hades si bůh všechny je poprav. Z pravý strany druhý až ve škoda, že neprůběh potrat nekonečnej. Mortal Kombat 2 damage v jednom, no to je bomba. Vítáme tě na tomhle albole, bacha na hlavu, radši svém helmu. Můj rap z tebe udělá šelmu v 9 ráno, opouštíš hernu, v metru na černo, skáníš pergole, spotkáš mě, tak si nepej bro. Nemám, jedám, mrdám, spěchám, ti říkám, ty vypatlaná píčo, tak mě neruš a běž už. Já se nervu, když jsem v nervu, já rovnou tahám nůž, tak zmiz nebo tě sejmu. Mrdé. Ľuďom jebe robia šialené veci a ničia vlastný svet. Ľudstvo je skazené, je chore ako besný pes. Ten, kto má peniaze, má moc a má právo veta. Žijeme v svete, v ktorom pravda neznamená veľa. Žiabovyššie spory, násilie a všade zloba. Sú miesta, na ktorých teče krv viac jak pitná voda. Spodných 90% a horných 10. Taká je naša doba, spravodlivosť miesto nemá. Tak veľa ľudí stava hradby, ale málo kto mosty. Asi preto je ťažké veriť, že nejsú sprostí. Nosia masky a klamu sami sebe. Ľuďom jebe, nelen tu, ale na celom svete. Ľudia sú chamtiví, zlomyselní a závislí. Svoje chyby nevidia nikdy, radi súdia iných. Keď ide o peniaze, vtedy zase vidia iba seba. A vtedy česť neznamená veľa. Zdá sa to len mne, alebo aj tebe. Niekedy mám pocit, že ľuďom jebe. Je to fakt, niekedy sa pýtam, kam to celé speje. Povedz, čo sa kurva deje, čo sa deje. Zdá sa to len mne, alebo aj tebe. Niekedy mám pocit, že ľuďom jebe. Je to v piči, niekedy sa pýtam, kam to celé speje. Povedz, čo sa kurva deje, čo sa deje. Pamätáte sa, keď padli dvojičky? Nikto netušil, že lietadla rozjebu vežičky. A všetky tie vojny a zlo na tomto svete. Čo k tomu môžem povedať? Ľuďom jebe. Niektorým zo života, iným z roboty. Lebo majú málo, aj keď makajú jak kokoti. A bohatí už nevedia, že čo od dobroty. Majú domy a jachty obrovskej hodnoty. Politici stále sľubujú lepšie časy. Pritom im ide iba o jedno, ovládať masy. Chcú získať moc a kontakty. Robia biznisy a podpisujú kontrakty. Máme policajný štát, ktorý si ťa preverí. Do budov a škôl inštalujú kamery. Odpočúvajú a nahrávajú všetky hovory. Nezabudni, že ťa počujú, keď s niekým hovoríš. Zdá sa to len mne, alebo aj tebe. Niekedy mám pocit, že ľuďom jebe. Je to fakt, niekedy sa pýtam, kam to celé speje. Povedz, čo sa kurva deje, čo sa deje. Zdá sa to len mne, alebo aj tebe. Niekedy mám pocit, že ľuďom jebe. Je to v piči, niekedy sa pýtam, kam to celé speje. Povedz, čo sa kurva deje. Ani sa nečudujem, že niekomu z toho zadrbe. Keď vidí meno vlastného syna vyrité na hrobe. Život prináša naše aj tragédie, lepo je raz taký. A dá sa pochopiť, keď pre ne človek hlavu stratí. Nedokážem ale pochopiť, že ľuďom jebe z toľkej nenávisti, ktorú cítia voči sebe. Čo sa deje, že musíme byť stále vo vojne. Kurva, kde je nejaká snaha riešiť veci pokojne. Ľuďom jebe, stále ženú sa za pachom peňazí. Kvôli prachom, svojim prachom vedia nohy podraziť. Je to chamtivosť, tak sme blbší ako opice. Ľudská márnivosť už odjak živa nemá hranice. Ľuďom jebe, stále závidia si jeden druhému. Bohatému, víkend príjme a penku chorému. Je to choré, že takto vlastne nadávam aj sebe. Ale nemôžem si pomôcť, brácho, ľuďom vážne jebe. Zdá sa to len mne, alebo aj tebe. Niekedy mám pocit, že ľuďom jebe. Je to fakt, niekedy sa pýtam, kam to celé speje. Kam to speje, povedz, čo sa kurva deje. Čo sa deje, zdá sa to len mne, alebo aj tebe. Niekedy mám pocit, že ľuďom jebe. Je to v piči, niekedy sa pýtam, kam to celé speje. Kam to speje, povedz, čo sa kurva deje. Čo sa deje.
17. výročie etnickej masakry v africkej armáde.
Bola najmasovejšou genocídou od skončenia druhej svetovej vojny. Počas 3 mesiacov padol za obeť takmer 1 milión ľudí.
Takmer 1 milión obetí.
Počas genocídy Kurdov v 80. rokoch zahynulo 180 000 ľudí.
Teroristické útoky v Casablanke v roku 2003 otriasli celým Marokom. Počas niekoľkomesačných nepokojov zahynulo približne 1000 ľudí a asi 300 000 prišlo o svoje domovy. Kosovskí albánski povstalci údajne koncom 90. rokov zabili desiatky Srbov a predali ich orgány.
Teherán pracuje na vývoji jadrovej bomby.
Výrobu jadrovej bomby.
Viac vojakov do Afganistanu. Samovražedný atentátnik zaútočil. Podozrivý z terorizmu po útokoch z 11. septembra.
Myslia si, že vedia, ale ani netušia. Snažím sa im dohovoriť, nech sa naučia. Myslia si, že vedia, ale ani netušia. Keď mali dávať pozor, sedeli si na ušiach. Myslia si, že vedia, ale ani netušia. Snažím sa im dohovoriť, nech sa naučia. Myslia si, že vedia, ale ani netušia. Keď mali dávať pozor, sedeli si na ušiach. 1.6 antivírus. Toto je medicína pre tvoje uši. Dávaj pozor. Jebať Hollywood a všetky akčné filmy. Brácho, ja si radšej idem konšpiračné filmy. Možno preto potom píšem konšpiračné rimy, ale nemôžem za to, tento svet je nejaký divný. Rozmýšľam, na čo je nám nenávisť, rasizmus, vyjebané systémy, komunizmus, fašizmus. Ak veríš týmto ideálom, tak si kokot, je to fake jak wrestling, celé je to podvod. Nemôžeš veriť správam ani politikom a ich trikom, že vraj nás chcú označkovať čipom. Tí čuráci sú šialení, prepnutí a chorí. Mnohí ani nevedia, že slúžia satanovi. Radšej sa rýchlo zobuď, brácho, nebuď somár. Kríza je vraj preto, že chcú nechať padnúť dolár. Celé je to súčasť vyjebaného plánu a ty nevidíš pravdu, si len majetok štátu. Ojeb na ľudí, súčasť plánu. Ojeb na ľudí, celé je to súčasť vyjebaného plánu. Ojeb na ľudí, nevidíš pravdu. Dávaj pozor, všade vonku sú bacily. Daj sa rýchlo zaočkovať, lebo dojdu vakcíny. Môžeš mi veriť, mám overený zdroj. Počul som to na teatri z úst jednej vagíny. A čo je v médiách je pravdivé, ale neveriť tomu je tak naivné. Pravdu musíš hľadať sám, lebo niekto ju filtruje a neprichádza k nám, jebo. Deti v školách učia vymyslené pičoviny. Už tam sa dozvedia, že nemôžu mať názor iný. Inak budú násmiech, lebo trebu kokotiny. Kto bude pochybovať, nepatrí do rodiny. Jebem takú familiu zombíkov. To už radšej budem osamelým výkrikom. Do tejto vyjebanej tmy, kde sa pre peniaze s ľuďmi hrajú vyjebané hry, chápeš? Ojeb na ľudí, súčasť plánu. Ojeb na ľudí, celé je to súčasť vyjebaného plánu. Ojeb na ľudí, nevidíš pravdu. Terorizmus to je súčasť plánu. 11. september súčasť plánu. Al-Qaida, Irak, súčasť plánu. Usama bin Laden je súčasť plánu. CIA je súčasť plánu. OSN je tiež súčasť plánu. Európska múmia je súčasť plánu. Politika vláda je súčasť plánu. A hypotéky banky sú súčasť plánu. A súdy a právnici súčasť plánu. Polícia, armáda súčasť plánu. Vatikán a cirkev je súčasť plánu. Federálna banka je súčasť plánu. Rockefeller, Kissinger súčasť plánu. Finančná kríza je súčasť plánu, show business to je súčasť plánu a hollywoodske filmy sú súčasť plánu, marketing, reklama súčasť plánu, média a bulvár je súčasť plánu, dezinformácie sú súčasť plánu, George Bush to bola súčasť plánu, Barack Obama to je súčasť plánu, nadnárodné korporácie súčasť plánu a chemtrails na oblohe súčasť plánu. Prasacia chrípka je súčasť plánu a vtáčia chrípka bola súčasť plánu. AIDS to je súčasť plánu a aspartam je tiež súčasť plánu. Pfizer a Monsanto súčasť plánu, Prozac, to je súčasť plánu. Vakcinácia je súčasť plánu a šírenie strachu je súčasť plánu. Ujeb na ľudí, súčasť plánu, ujeb na ľudí. Celé je to súčasť vyjebaného plánu, ujeb na ľudí, nevidíš pravdu.
Vojna v priamom prenose idú správy, show na CNN už naberá grády. Zajtra padnú bomby na Bagdád, sľubuje reportér. V záujme demokracie sa vraždí, život za ropu vraj vymení každý. Do očí klamú jedni aj druhí, kto je ten pravý. Mŕtvych vojakov odvážajú domov, nešťastné matky nad radmi hrobov. A koľko miliárd zarobí víťaz, čo ťažko niečo nahradí. Vyhlásenia do zvedavých kamier, týchto pseudobojovníkov zámier, a zvyšok času sa predá na reklamu. Tak aký je problém? Povedz mi, nemáš už toho dosť týchto krvavých spomienok na budúcnosť. Všetci sme odjak živa proti, ale prečo nás stále ešte baví zomierať za sny iných? Svätý bojovník za džihad vzdal sa boja, išiel rabovať nemocnicu vo vlastnej štvrti. Kričí, že umiera do kamery, kde stratil nádej, v ktorú veril, kde sa stratil ten, ktorý mu velil. Asi niekde v tichu, v teple ten svoj život dožije. Opona zďaleka ešte nepadá. Povedz mi, nemáš už toho dosť týchto krvavých spomienok na budúcnosť. Všetci sme odjak živa proti, ale prečo nás stále ešte baví zomierať za sny iných?
Katika barabara miaka mitatu, maisha mabaya. Najua tena bezi ni kubaya Watu wanapigana na machupa juu unaweza kufia kwa bezi ama ushikwe.
Unalala wapi?
Ndani.
It's really unbelievable. I mean, he's sleeping in this very small tunnel.
Like an army of rats, street children sneak into these tunnels to spend the night. No one cares about them, except an Italian organization called Amani, which has been active for years all over Nairobi to provide hundreds of kids at least 2 hot meals a week.
Kuna senye nakanga chini nafikiriaje? Hii kitu ndio nilifanyanga best yangu akakufa. Lakini sasa nimeona chance mzuri ya kuacha.
Many other children can be rescued from the streets and from Nairobi's devastating liquid drugs.
Medication is cheaper in Mexico, and you can buy most drugs without a prescription. While most people are able to find the care they desperately need, some are also buying cheap, unregulated meds without knowing they're fake. The ingredients can be completely unknown, and in recent years, the DEA have seized counterfeit medication laced with the deadly opioid fentanyl. It's estimated that 8 million people consume illicit medication in Mexico every year. I want to explore this black market industry, meet the dealers, the people combating this medical crime, and the people risking their lives for their own health. My father is a pharmacist. He works in a very highly regulated environment where, you know, you have to have a prescription, you have to go to a doctor to get your medicine. But then with my friends, they come to Mexico and they don't have to come with a prescription. They don't have to potentially even see a doctor. They just go to one of the pharmacies and just ask for the medication they're looking for and they get it. So it's as quick as that. So as much as it's simple and easy, it also makes me wonder how dangerous that can be. I'm heading near the US-Mexico border to Zona Norte, a red light area of Tijuana, where medical tourists often travel to pick up cheaper meds.
What's up? What's up, man? How you doing, G?
Doing good.
Cool. Yeah, man. Can I just get 2 perk 30s? The 2 Percocet 30s milligrams? Please? Yeah. Okay. That's gonna be money.
How did you get into Percocet?
A year or 2 ago, like, I remember trying to buy some heroin and somebody gave me like a blue pill. And this is way better, you know, it's perk 30s or whatever. I do heroin. That's not gonna touch me. Because I was just like, perk 30, like Oxycontin 80s, it's perk 80s. That's what they always called it. So I was like, this ain't gonna touch me, bro. But he's like, no, take it for free, trust me. Well, long story short, I took a hit and it fucking bleeding me out. And I already had a tolerance to opiates. So I was like, what the fuck is that? That's not a real Vicodin or Percocet, whatever. I was like, this shit ain't real, bro. I was like, I do heroin, that shit put me on my ass.
Do you know anyone who's died from consuming these pills?
I do. Yeah. A close friend of mine had a tolerance to it. Ended up taking a full Percocet and yeah, took his life.
Do you have any idea of what might be in them?
I have no idea.
So how would you feel if I told you we were going to test it?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're cool with that?
Yeah, I want to know.
You want to know?
Yeah.
I'm going to use a portable spectrometer intended for Border Patrol to test if the drugs are counterfeit.
All right, this is going to be a little tricky. I must look so shady right now. No, I think I've grounded it enough. Arm laser. Fentanyl. It says CASNA, illicit drug, and a red label pops up.
A Percocet pill is meant to have oxycodone as its active ingredient. This fake pill is instead cut with a deadly mix of fentanyl and methamphetamine. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin, and the overdose rate in the US is climbing with the introduction of this illicit opioid. It's estimated that there were 90,000 drug overdoses in the US in 2020. According to the DEA, while Chinese fentanyl seizures are down, the new source of fentanyl are Mexican cartels, specifically the Sinaloa and the Jalisco New Generation cartels, who are essentially criminal armies that rule with impunity. We're headed to Tepito, one of the largest black markets in Mexico City, where you can find counterfeit medication, makeup, clothes, anything you can think of. I'm meeting with a local boxing legend called Jorge, who's going to be my guide for Tepito.
Aquí es, Tepito.
That's a pharmacy.
Sí.
There's all kinds of medicine, no?
Sí.
It's like for back pain, children's medication. There's...
Para los dolores. Vamos a caminarle también.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, we need to move fast. I could tell that it's sort of risky to stop by there. And then I also noticed a motorbike passed by us, and I hear that the people who are on the motorbikes are often from the cartel. So that's also making me a bit nervous.
Sí, mira, ya hasta aquí podemos llegar ya, pero ya de aquí para allá hay muchas, hay maloras, ¿sí?
¿Aquí?
Ya es tarde ahorita, ya es tarde.
It's getting a bit hot, as we suspect cartels or gang spotters have noticed us filming. Jorge insists that we leave, but I still want to speak to a low-level vendor at this market to find out what they're selling and who supplies them.
Por ejemplo, este producto tú te lo tomas y no sabes qué efecto te vaya a hacer, te va a causar algún daño, no sabemos qué contenga. Eso pues se tiene que llevar a analizar. En realidad no sabes no sé si sea veneno para rata. Esto se le llama clonado.
This is legal?
Es diferente el color de la caja. Original. Y esto está mal hecho. El color cambia.
Yeah.
¿Ya?
And what is the most popular medication? What are people buying from you?
Lo que más busca la gente es para el dolor y antibióticos.
So do you think that the cartels are involved in this?
No lo sé.
Are you scared to tell me about the cartel?
No lo sé. Pues ya como que ya me estoy incomodando.
Our time is up with the black market pharmacist, who's starting to feel uneasy. He seemed genuinely scared when I asked him about the cartel's involvement in the counterfeit medication market, and understandably so. I've set up a meeting with another dealer further up the supply chain. He wants us to meet him at the parking lot of an empty elementary school.
Can you show me the medicine?
Sí, es pirata. Manejo dos. El básico y el premium. Pirata básico y premium. El pirata normalmente se nota en la caja y el original pues es igualito hasta en los sellos y hologramas. O sea, las pastillas, los comprimidos, todo viene igualito. A menos de que lo pruebes, te das cuenta que es original y que es falso.
I'm looking at it, and it does look like legitimate packaging. I wouldn't think that any of this is fake. It looks real. Who are your top clients? Like, what kind of medication are they going for? Or do you even know?
Sí, se vende, o sea, cuando llegan allá a la rodera los clientes normalmente se lo vendemos a personas de tianguis, farmacias, tienditas.
So you have legal pharmacies purchasing from you in addition to regular bodegas. It's mixed.
Sí, así es. Hay farmacias que te lo compran y es donde dicen, ¿no? O sea, al final mucha gente va y compra, oye, pues, ¿por qué allá me lo están dejando 10 pesos más barato? Pues ahí tienes tu respuesta. Es porque normalmente meten el medicamento clonado y pues no se dan cuenta.
My takeaway from that interview was, as someone who takes medication for headaches and whatnot, all of that looked pretty legit, but none of it is. All of it's fake.
I need to go even further up the supply chain to find out more about the scale of this operation. Our fixer has managed to track down the manager of a clandestine warehouse.
Metro 25, ahorita rondado. Y todo traemos arma aquí. Como aquí cae la patrulla y todo, pues ya a mí se me hacía raro que se cayera. Se me hacía raro porque como aquí todo controlado, pues todo la policía, todo controlado, pues. Tenemos puntero, tenemos todo. Yo no me dejaré agarrar ni mi gente se cayó la policía, no, pues yo me quedé agarrado a balazo. Estando usted aquí, yo no estando, pues sí, por seguridad de usted y seguridad de nosotros, por eso.
Understood. So can you tell me a little bit about the medicine that's here? What is this?
¿Sí me entiendes? Son puras pastillitas que te hacen, que a veces que te hacen a la gente, son puros venenos, a veces lo hacen con droga, son cosas fuertes, ¿sí? Ahí está mi nombre.
Yeah, and I also see antidepressants, antibiotics, antidepressants. Are those your most popular ones?
Sí, pues son esas ya van de salida. Así ya están pedidos ya.
decido venderlas a farmacias, a otra gente.
How much does this cost?
Es que los precios como todo no varían los precios, ¿no? Varían, pero siempre lo que está más supuestamente más malo son los que más menos valen, pues. Los que pegan más fuertes son los que más valen. Pues realmente la gente no sabe ni lo que compra, pues entiendo a veces. Son originales, pues realmente lo que viene por dentro no es original.
Can you tell me how much you sell in dollars?
En millones, así es. Muchos millones.
Are you associated with the cartels in any way?
Yo ahí ya sería eso el patrón, yo ahí ya no me meto. Yo nomás hago mi trabajo y ya de ahí para allá ya.
So where else are these fake drugs being distributed to? Not only are makeshift pharmacies selling illegal prescription drugs in Mexico, this is also happening in the US. I'm in Alvarado Street in LA, where we have reason to believe there are street vendors selling potentially counterfeit meds. I'm going to secret film, pick some up, and get them tested.
In the beginning, we started off very easy. We just asked for medication related to pain. But the crazy thing is just walking through that street, there were all kinds of medication being openly sold there. And the packaging were, some look fake. It didn't look like the authentic thing, like Advil PM, Tylenol PM.
Oh, sí tiene, mira. Es que hemos estado buscando, pero ¿tienes algo para dormir fuerte?
I asked about Xanax, if they had Xanax, and she said they did. And she gave me this bar, Xanax bar. The funny thing is there's no label on it. This was something she said I should only take half of one because it's so strong and will knock me out immediately. Then she gave me diazepam, which is more benzos, and said the same thing. These have labels on them, but they're different labels. Some say DZ and others say M. The Xanax bar she showed us, she said, this is from Mexico. This is from Mexico. She kept saying that over and over again. This is from Mexico, and this is really, really strong. It's from Mexico, and it's strong. Are you sure you want this? And we paid $5 for one bar.
Now I need to get these tested to find out if they're fake or legit. I'm meeting with Adam Hopkins from Metrum, a leading manufacturer of high-precision instruments for chemical analysis.
This is the 10 milligram Xanax, right? So that's the Xanax that should be very, very powerful. So we put this Xanax tablet in here, arm and acquire. We're just gonna see what this does. Wow, all right. You don't need much, I mean, 10 milligrams, that's crazy.
Why?
Because you should never have a Xanax pill with enough Xanax for the instrument to detect it right off the bat. It's like, that's a lot of Xanax. Frankly, any of these things that are not licensed to be sold in the US on the street, that's a little scary to me.
The black market exists because of the overpriced healthcare system in the US. In 2019, over 26 million people were without health insurance, and even people with coverage in the US chose to receive care in Mexico because it's much cheaper. Now with criminals not just distributing fake medication to markets, but to real pharmacies in Mexico, who are the people willing to cross the border from the US for cheaper everyday health care, knowing that their medication could be counterfeit? Reports of 14 patients dying and 50 falling ill in Pemex Regional Hospital in Tabasco, Mexico, from being administered counterfeit medication by a doctor.
Pues la verdad, Estados Unidos me da miedo.
It's estimated there were as many as 3 million inbound medical travelers to Mexico as of February 2020, and recent reports note a strong resurgence in medical tourism in the past few months, to nearly 100% in border towns, including Tijuana.
But we believe that most, if not all, fentanyl that's distributed here in the US and in Canada originates in China.
Fentanyl got him. It was his first overdose, and it was his last.
911, what do you need, please? Fire or medical?
So I have 3 people that are, apparently they seem to be passed out drunk, not waking up in my parking lot. Like 2 of them are on the ground.
11:30 on a Saturday night. Deputies are called to help 2 men and a woman, all unresponsive.
Oh, wake up.
You're smacking at them, you're screaming, you're shaking stuff around, moving things, and they're not doing anything.
What else is going on?
At this gas station on Red Bug Lake Road, the normal measures deputies take to wake people up aren't working.
Now at this time, we're realizing we have probably an overdose, a triple overdose at that.
Turning blue, the colors leaving their faces. It's scary.
Got 3 Narcan deployments.
Since November 2016, each SCSO deputy has carried with them Narcan, a powerful opioid inhibitor sprayed up the nostril that has brought dozens of people who are overdosing back from the brink of dying.
Come on, bud. Come on. There you go. Wake up. Wake up.
As you may know, someone dies every 19 minutes in this country because of such an overdose. And today I want to talk about a medicine that some people say could help stop this epidemic, but only if we get it in the hands of more people, not just doctors, but average people as well. Now look, see this incredible video showing how it might work.
What you're looking at is pretty shocking.
a heroin addict, overdosed.
Včera jsem potkal tvýho starýho a říkal, že je hrozně probranej a dávno nesosá. Za hodinu ho vidím, jak běhá po klubu, je mocně bezradný a ptá se, kdo to má. Za další hodinu už velí jenom na jízdu a všechno je mu uprdele svání ještě víc. Prada mu jezdí jako Pendolino, otravuje všechny, za chvíli ho někdo strašně sestřelí. Letí na měsíc, už ani neví, kde felí, říkám ti, za chvíli se mu zastaví pompa. Pořídil 2 gramy petí a už to vyfukal celý a lídá po klubu jak hysterická kunda. Záchvaty, paniky, jízda na běžině, dneska prý naposled, hop na nevině. Extrémní Jupiter, atmo tu housne, zombie jak idiot, smysl ještě kousne. Tadám, radši padám, žebra na pětlík prosí, ať počím, co mám. Tadám, radši padám, mít číslo na drobě, tak už to volám. Tadám, radši padám, žebra na pětlík prosí, ať počím, co mám. Tadám, radši padám, mít číslo na drobě, tak už to volám. Kámo, včera ráno jsem potkal tvou mámu, milhala mě na hajzl, že s ní mám dát čáru. Dělala jak kdyby flousila panenskou blánu, kdyby bylo vidět, že ten make-up ukrývá bábu. Kámo, včera jsem potkal tvýho bráchu, klečel na kolenou, brečel, zasáhl by mě páchnul. Chtěl si šápnout, na sáček dosáhnout, byl po prázdnej pytlík, čuměl jak dildo. Matildo, ty sosáš jak bohyně, koulíš očima, snažíš se tvářit nevinně. Moc to nejde, z nosu se valí lavina, na hajzlu máš svůj McDonald, I'm loving it. Dnes hraje DJ Big and Beat MC Dylina, když se vyjedeš, mozku funkujou byliny. Si kino Reeves, 3 vteřiny jsou hodiny, přiměti není zima, řeď je peřina. Tadám, radši padám, žebra na pytlík a nabízím je orál. Tadám, radši padám, mít číslo na drobě, tak už to volám. Tadám, radši padám, žebra na pytlík a nabízím je orál. Tadám, radši padám, mít číslo na drobě, tak už to volám. Včera jsem potkal tvojí starou, kámo, vypadala hodně špatně, asi hodně češtiny. Snažila se mluvit, ale vydávala zvuky jako pračlověk, měla by zůstat v jeskyni. Aspoň do té doby nech se trochu probere a přestane ty píčoviny foukat po kilech. Měl si ji vidět, když to docházelo, trhali si vlasy, vole, ultimátní fajty o zbytek. Nechutný, kámo, ta buchta nesolí málo, říkám ti, vypadá jak prvotřídní smažka. Možná si nestřílí kálo, ale to nevadí, kámo, říkám ti, pro mě je to regulární katka. Záchvaty, agrese, pytle pod očima, řekni mi okamžitě, co chce ta hožina. Extrémní Jupiter, atmo tu housne, zombie jak idiot, smysl ještě kousne. Tadám, radši padám, žebra na pytlík a nabízím je orál. Tadám, radši padám, mít číslo na drobě, tak už to volám. Tadám, radši padám, žebra na pytlík prosí, ať počím, co mám. Tadám, radši padám, mít číslo na drobě, tak už to volám.
Was getting a pretty high tolerance at this point.
Oxys, OxyContin, led to fake 80s, fentanyl posing as OxyContin. Immediately, Katie wanted nothing else.
I could buy one of these fake 80s, put them into 4 lines, and 2 lines would last me a full day. That's how strong it was. And if I did a full pill, I would OD.
Katie says she's overdosed 11 times, most recently a few days ago. Brought back by paramedics or friends on the strip who have naloxone, the powerful opioid antidote.
Every time I do dope, I know I'm taking a risk. I know that I might die, but like, it doesn't matter how many times I've OD'd, I still use the next day because the withdrawals are so bad.
Katie has been in the news before. She and her sister attacked by a Rottweiler cross back in December. Katie was badly hurt and spent time in hospital. She says that cemented her addiction to fentanyl. As she talks, blood starts to seep through her makeup.
Katie, you're 22. Why would you risk this?
Well, at first it was just fun, right? It was just for fun. It was just a party drug that, you know, like, and there's been some things that I've gone through and it helped with a lot of pain. And especially after, you know, that dog attack, I just couldn't stop, you know?
I asked Katie if she worries about herself and her future.
Sometimes. I mean, I don't know. I just like to take things one day at a time, right? I'll kind of just go with it and hopefully, you know, hope for the best.
For now, the best Katie can hope for is to wake up from her next fix of fentanyl. Eric Rankin, CBC News, Surrey.
Smál jsem se s maškama, teď vypadám jak voní. Dřív to byla prdel, ale už není. Pani, mohl bych po vás dojet ten Weigl? Jenom se ptám, proč neřvete z misty hajzle. Nechtějí se bavit, proč všichni se mi vyhejbají. Jebat na ně chci bejt high, navštívit jiný kraj. Deep Space Nine, jenom tam mi je fajn. Nebo už ani tam, já už to nepoznám. Furt je mi stejně, tak nějak, ale víš jak, už to nejde jinak. Vlak, tak ten mi dávno ujel, asi jsem dojel kam jsem chtěl. Party in the hell, ve mně i okolo, hnus a špína, je mi to fuk, přestal jsem to vnímat, výtah do těch nejnižších pater a všechno jenom proto, že jsem chtěl být real rapper. Doufit, myslím jenom na jedno, až to budu mít, sjedu to všechno najednou. Doufit, řídil jsem se z okraje, budu se zabít jen co tahle sračka dohraje. Doufit, myslím jenom na jedno, až to budu mít, sjedu to všechno najednou. Doufit, řídil jsem se z okraje, budu se zabít jen co tahle sračka dohraje. Doufit, no eat, no sleep, nosebleed, furt beat most deep, no job, bitches mi nechtěj dát blowjob, strhaj jak křičej, asi jsem ztratil kouzlo, dřív jsem měl talenta, byl docela fišák a teď jsem jenom dementa, špinavej feťák, nemám zub, mám ksicht, samej strup, mám pohublej trup, nemám byt, jenom srub, nemám nic, jenom blech, kartu a plech, jsem nula abych zdech, je napsáno na zdech, kam zmizel Hades pes, se sám sebe ptám, ale odpověď neznám, jsem myslel, že to dám, víš, ale vyhrát nejde, vítěz si dám předem, rok, 2 nebo 10, nakonec tě to svede, tak jedem, po hlavě rovnou do hajzlu, bude to kult, za chvíli přijď za mnou na hajzlo. Doufit, myslím jenom na jedno, až to budu mít, sjedu to všechno najednou. Doufit, řídil jsem se z okraje, budu se zabít jen co tahle sračka dohraje. Doufit, myslím jenom na jedno, až to budu mít, sjedu to všechno najednou. Doufit, řídil jsem se z okraje, budu se zabít jen co tahle sračka dohraje. Dámy a pánové, navštívte náš vyhlášený cirkus. Uvidíte, co jste ještě neviděli. Exotická zvířata, unikátní drezury, jedinečné čísla. Nevážte, za minutu začínáme. Zaplaťte a pojďte dál. Naše šapito je místo pro všechny. Každá hlava platí 20. Kdo přijde bez hlavy, neplatí nic.
Watched her make the same mistakes
stripes and the stars for the rights that men have died for to protect. The women and men who have broke their necks for the freedom of speech the United States government is sworn to uphold. Everybody that listens to the words so we're told. I never would have dreamed in a million years I'd see so many motherfucking people who feel like me, who share the same views and the same exact beliefs. It's like a fucking army marching in back of me. So many lives I touched, so much anger aimed in no particular direction. Just sprays and sprays straight through your radio waves. It plays and plays till it stays stuck in your head for days and days. Who would have thought standing in this mirror, bleaching my hair with some peroxide, reaching for a t-shirt to wear, that I would catapult to the forefront of rap like this? How could I predict my words and have an impact like this? I must have struck a chord with somebody up in the office, cause Congress keeps telling me I ain't causing nothing but problems, and now they're saying I'm in trouble with the government. I'm loving it, I shoveled shit on my life, and now I'm dumping it on white America. I could be one of your kids. White America. Little Eric looks just like this. White America. Erica loves my shit. I go to TRL. Look how many hugs I get. White America. I could be one of your kids. White America. Little Eric looks just like this. White America. Erica loves my shit. I go to TRL. Look how many hugs I get. Look at these eyes, baby blue, baby, just like yourself. If they were brown, Shady lose. Shady sits on the shelf, but Shady's cute. Shady knew Shady's dimples would help make ladies swoon, baby. Baby, look at myself. Let's do the math. If I was black, I would've sold half. I ain't have to graduate from Lincoln High School to know that, but I can rap, so fuck school. I'm too cool to go back. Give me the mic. Show me where the fucking studio's at. When I was underground, no one gave a fuck I was white. No labels wanted to sign me. Almost gave up. I was like, fuck it, until I met Dre. The only one who looked past gave me a chance, and I lit a fire up under his ass. Helped him get back to the top. Every fan black that I got was probably his in exchange for every white man that he's got. Like damn, we just swapped. Sitting back looking at shit, wow. I'm like, my skin is starting to work to my benefit now. It's white America. I could be one of your kids. White America. Little Eric looks just like this. White America. Erica loves my shit. I go to TRL. Look how many hugs I get. White America. I could be one of your kids. White America. Little Eric looks just like this. White America. Erica loves my shit. I go to TRL. Look how many hugs I get. See, the problem is I speak to suburban kids who otherwise would've never knew these words exist. Whose moms probably would've never gave 2 squirts of piss. Till I created so much motherfucking turbulence. Straight out the tube, right into your living rooms I came. And kids flipped when they knew I was produced by Dre. That's all it took, and they were instantly hooked right in. And they connected with me too because I look like them. That's why they put my lyrics up under this microscope. Searching with a fine-tooth comb. It's like this rope waiting to choke, tightening around my throat. Watching me while I write this like I don't like this. No, all I hear is lyrics, constant controversy. Sponsors working round the clock to try to stop my content's early journey. Hip-hop was never a problem in Harlem, only in Boston. After it bothered the fathers of God is starting to blossom. So now I'm catching the flack from these activists when they ragging, acting like I'm the first rapper to snack a beat to say faggot. Shit, this look at me like I'm your closest pal, the poster child, the motherfucking spokesman now for white America. I could be one of your kids. White America. Little Eric looks just like this. White America. Erica loves my shit. I go to TRL. Look how many hugs I get. White America. I could be one of your kids. White America. Little Eric looks just like this. White America. Erica loves my shit. I go to TRL. Look how many hugs I get. So to the parents of America, I am the damager aimed at little Erica to attack her character. The ringleader of this circus of worthless pawns, sent to lead the march right up to the steps of Congress and piss on the lawns of the White House. To It feels so good to be back. Scrutinize every word, memorize every line. I spit it once, refuel, re-energize, and rewind. I can sight to the blind, mind sight through the mind. I exercise my right to express when I feel it's time. It's just all in your mind, what you interpret it as. I say the fight you take it as I'ma whip someone's ass. If you don't understand, don't even bother to ask. A father who has grown up with a fatherless past, who has grown up now to rap phenomenon that has, or at least shows no difficulty multitasking and juggling both. Perhaps mastered his craft / entrepreneur who's helped launch a few more rap acts, who's had a few obstacles thrown his way through the last half of his career. Typical manure, moving past that. Mr. Kisses ass crack, he's a class act. Rubber band man, yeah, he just snaps back. Come along, follow me as I lead through the darkness, as I provide just enough spark that we need to proceed. Carry on, give me hope, give me strength. Come with me, and I won't steer you wrong. Put your faith and your trust as I guide us through the fog to the light. At the end of the tunnel, we gon' fight, we gon' charge, we gon' storm, we gon' march through the swamp, we gon' march through the marsh. Take us right through the doors. Come on, people up top, on the side, in the middle. Come together, let's all form and storm just a little. Just let it gradually build from the front to the back. All you can see is the sea of people, some white and some black. No matter what color, all that matters, we're gathered together to celebrate for the same cause. No matter the weather, if it rains, let it rain. Yeah, the wetter the better. They ain't gon' stop us, they can't. We're stronger now more than ever. They tell us no, we say yeah. They tell us stop, we say go. Rebel with a rebel yell. Raise hell, we gon' let them know. Storm, push, shove, mush, fuck, push, until they bring our troops home. Come on, just come along, follow me as I lead through the darkness, as I provide just enough spark that we need to proceed. Carry on, give me hope, give me strength. Come with me, and I won't steer you wrong. Put your faith and your trust as I guide us through the fog to the light. At the end of the tunnel, we gon' fight, we gon' charge, we gon' storm, we gon' march through the swamp, we gon' march through the marsh. Take us right through the doors. Come on, imagine it pouring, it's raining down on us. Marsh pits outside the Oval Office. Someone's trying to tell us something. Maybe this is God just saying we're responsible for this monster, this coward that we have empowered. This is Bin Laden. Look at his head nodding. How could we allow something like this without pumping our fists? Now this is our final hour. Let me be the voice and your strength and your choice. Let me simplify the rhyme just to amplify the noise. Try to amplify it times it and multiply it by 16 million people all equal at this high pitch. Maybe we can reach Al-Qaeda through my speech. Let the president answer high anarchy. Strap him with an AK-47, let him go fight his own war. Let him impress daddy that way. No more blood for oil, we got our own battles to fight on our own soil. No more psychological warfare to trick us to thinking that we ain't loyal. If we don't serve our own country, we're patronizing a hero. Look in his eyes, it's all lies. The stars and stripes, they've been swiped, washed out and wiped, and replaced with his own face. March now or die. If I get slacked tonight, you'll know why. Cause I told you to fight. Come along, follow me as I lead through the darkness, as I provide just enough spark that we need to proceed. Carry on, give me hope, give me strength. Come with me, and I won't steer you wrong. Put your faith and your trust as I guide us through the fog to the light. At the end of the tunnel, we gon' fight, we gon' charge, we gon' storm, we gon' march through the swamp, we gon' march through the marsh. Take us right through the doors. Come on. And as we proceed to march through this desert storm, in these closing statements, if they should argue, let us beg to differ. As we set aside our differences and assemble our own army to disarm this weapon of mass destruction that we call our president for the present, and march for the future of our next generation. To speak and be heard, Mr. President, Mr. the senator!
Do you guys hear us?
Dear Mr. President, come take a walk with me. Let's pretend we're just two people and you're not better than me. I'd like to ask you some questions if we can speak honestly. What do you feel when you see all the homeless on the street? Who do you pray for at night before you go to sleep? What do you feel when you look in the mirror? Are you proud? How do you sleep while the rest of us cry? How do you dream when a mother has no chance to say goodbye? How do you walk with your head held high? Can you even look me in the eye and tell me why? Dear Mr. President, were you a lonely boy? Were you a lonely boy? How can you say no child is left behind? We're not dumb and we're not blind. They're all sitting in your cells while you pave the road to hell. What kind of father would take his own daughter's rights away? And what kind of father might hate his own daughter if she was gay? I can only imagine what the First Lady has to say. You've come a long way from whiskey and cocaine. How do you sleep while the rest of us cry? How do you dream when a mother has no chance to say goodbye? How do you walk with your head held high? Can you even look me in the eye? Let me tell you about hard work. Minimum wage with a baby on the way. Let me tell you about hard work. Rebuilding your house after the bomb took them away. Let me tell you about hard work. Building a bed out of a cardboard box. Let me tell you about hard work. Hard work, hard work. You don't know nothing about hard work. Hard work, hard work. How do you sleep at night? How do you walk with your head high? Dear Mr. President, you'd never take a walk with me.
Pane prezidente, ústavní činiteli, píšu vám dopis, že moje děti na mě zapomněli. Jde o syna Karla a mladší dceru Evu. Rok už nenapsali, rok už nepřijeli na návštěvu. Vy to pochopíte, vy přece všechno víte. Vy se poradíte, vy to vyřešíte, vy mě zachráníte. Pane prezidente, já chci jen kousek štěstí. Pro co jiného jsme přeci zvonili klíčema na náměstí. Pane prezidente, a ještě stěžuju si, že mi podražili pivo, jogurty, párky i trolejbusy. I poštovní známky, i bločky na poznámky, i télecí plecko, Řecko i Německo, no prostě všecko. Vy to pochopíte, vy přece všechno víte. Vy se poradíte, vy to vyřešíte, vy mě zachráníte. Pane prezidente, já chci jen kousek štěstí. Pro co jiného jsme přeci zvonili klíčema na náměstí. Pane prezidente mé České republiky, oni mě propustili na hodinu z mý fabriky. Celých 30 roků všecko bylo v cajku. Teď přišli noví mladí a ti tu řádí jak na klondajku. Vy to pochopíte, vy se mnou soucítíte. Vy se poradíte, vy to vyřešíte, vy mě zachráníte. Pane prezidente, já chci jen kousek štěstí. Pro co jiného jsme přeci zvonili klíčema na náměstí. V roce 2048 se objevila společnost Bikoulian S.O.B se sídlem v Praze. Podařilo se jí obejít legislativu celého světa a skončilo to tak, že pod rouškou legální činnosti lifrovala drogy všem. Řekni mi kdy a kolik toho bude. Dohodneme cenu a dostaneme to všude. Výroba jde, máme jich, máme sever. To co bylo minule, tak to už znova neber. Tohle je to ono, zvedá to jak heber. Lidi to chtějí hlavně ty, co vyrobili z žeber. Když máme je, tak máme všechno. Jejich chlapy a děti budou brát naše svinstvo. Nový věk si žádá nový fet. Čistá extáze a žádný dojezd. Dáš si to do pití a svítí to jak neon. Zelený prášek z planety Krypton. Můžeš jít na mejdan nebo zůstat doma. Za rozumnou sumu ti prodáme somu. Je to mana, už to bere i Obama. Pár miligramů z tebe udělá boha. Je to super matro. Cítím se jak je to super matro. Já jsem tak je to super matro. Vidím pouze čas. Je to super matro. Já už chci zas. Koupíš si to v krámě, pokud máš 18 let. Nastavíš si, jak dlouhou dobu chceš jet. Pak to odezní a můžeš jít pracovat. Štěstí je k mání, už nemusíš hledat. Celá rodina je doma, táta pěkně frčí. Na gauči v klidu mu v nebuli pěkně hučí. Mama kouká na bednu a kdo ví, co tam vidí. Synek bere potají, hrozně mu potom stojí. Všichni se smějou, všichni se temí. Všichni jsou šťastní, smích otřásá zemí. Je to raj na zemi, profitujeme my. Drogy budou biznis, dokavať tu budou lidi. Nikdo netušil, že to bude takový hit. Substance legální, jak ti nás zastavit. Potačáš pozlí do konce hodonín. I za lidí z mámy přestávají brát pervitin. Je to super matro. Cítím se jak je to super matro. Já jsem tak je to super matro. Vidím pouze čas. Je to super matro. Já už chci zas. O lásku, můžeme si vybrat. Mají tu modrý rozšoupávák nebo červený hořák. Já osobně preferuji zelený kryptonit. Když si to vemeš, tak ti nateče žalud a stříká ti z uší. Celej začneš svrbět a začnou si ti dělat vyrážky. Je to krása, můžeš si koukat na televizi nebo dělat cokoliv. Můžeš jít z šupky nebo jít do školy. Můžeme spolu dělat úkoly. Máme parádní fialový modrák. Je to krása. Chci se svět jak jednou. Čekám až ti přijdou. znova. Poletuju po nocích a houkám jako sova. Vůbec mi to nevadí, jsi žavej jak výstřel. Tak už mi prozrať, kdo je tvůj díler. Dostane výser, jestli to bude odlož. Nejedu nikam, chci to dovíst až pod nos. Stříbrnej podnos a na něm čáry. Jednu tam pošlu a zapnu pokrstáry. Ještě jsem nespal a venku už svítá. Zase, teď už dneska svítalo třikrát. Koupí to už dohrát, zvede ti spát. Nedá se to ustát, jsem příliš moc. Chce to nějaký sedaci, budu na dobrou noc. Koupím si stěno a vyhulím program. Lepší by byl asi na toho a vyťoura. Jde na mě těpka, co si nevím dát. Nejlepší nápad je MDMA. Hurá, zase mám všechny rád. Rozplývám se tančím, nemůžu se přestat spát. Život je krásný, dokud to teda maká. Pak přijde dojezd a já zas budu plakat. Ale to je fuk, seru na to, co bude. Žiju teď a tady, chápeš, co zmrde? Drogy all my mind, drogy all the time, drogy all my mind, drogy all the time. Dráma, imko a houby, všechno si to dám, nedám na vaše soudy. Ketamin, LSD, koulen a kokain, svetovaný smrt, mrdám jak na mě koukej. Perník, dráma, imko a houby, všechno si to dám, nedám na vaše soudy. Ketamin, LSD, koulen a kokain, svetovaný smrt, mrdám jak na mě koukej. Bitch.
Chceš stříkačku? A nebo to budeš čuchat?
Jediný, co neberu, je to lue na extáze. To tuhý žerou teplouši, to první foukaj na dráze. Před koncertem si zásadně ulítávám na čáře. Kombinaci s herákem jsem absolutně na káry. Mám abscesy a flegmony. Občas do sebe aplikuju růstový hormony. Je mi vlastně jedno, co si do sebe šlehnu. Důležitý je to, že to se mnou nešlehlo. Piko, hero, kokopelo. Opouštím dimenzi, tak šáko pélo. Seru na tvý skéro i na tvý planty. Beru tvrdý drogy, hanty, ať mám víc než tamty. Dam. Za tyhle ty stavy může Albert Hoffman. V ruce nemám gun a přesto se chystám střelit. Klepou se mi ruce a nemůžu se trefit. Mengele, nastřel mi ten shit. Ber do mě tu sračku, hlavně nezníš stříkačku. Háde si, šupni si ten zbytek, co je v sáčku. Já ti buchnu na buči, máš, vím, že máš Cčko. Zkusil jsem všechno, drogy, techno. Teď už jsem starý na totální temno. Tripy jsou pro mě moc velký etno. Na svý rozpívání mám vzpomínku matnou. Vychal jsem kodeň s chlastem a trávou. Málem jak Cobain jsem prohnal kluku hlavou. Teď už nemám žádnou dopaminu hladinu. Jsem ten se každou hodinu, když inhaluju s plodinou. Mám to za kravinu, furt hulit nějaký špeky. Vykydli na gauči a prytět si to děky. Žádný čekteky, ani opium z meky. Možná bych taky ještě zhulil nějaký kreky. Umírám z teky, když nejsem aspoň zlitej. Po chlastu není dojezd, jsem maximálně splitej. Tak mi nevyčítej, že nedám zabrat trupu. Už nežeru koule, ale koken pořád šňupu. Já jdu průžesník, vertujem jak kreténi. Jedeme si extrémy, než lezem na scénu. Střílíme to do sebe jako pistolníci. Podejsem to svinstvou, už navřej vám říci. Jsem zas tak píči, že nemůžu report. Těším se, až to odmelu a budu se zas domrdat. Hej Martin, podej mi tvoji buchnu. Na žloutenku ti mrdám, jestli si nedám, tak zdechnu. Ačko, Tčko, Pčko, do toho THCčko, koko. Aby mi z toho všeho prasknul kokot. Jsem jak robot, není to žilní pohon. Nejdřív si pustit žilou, všechno ostatní až potom. A to, co bylo předtím, už dávno odnes čas. Zbyl už jenom stres, těžký schýzy a přas. Hlas mojí hlavy říká, abych se vytvrčel, nenechal mě bejt. I když jsem se rozbrečel, že už to nechci, to asi stavil čáru. Už na to všechno se rozkočí po nejvyšší káru. Řezník Hades Evil D, 3 hlavy totálně vymletý. Hades Evil Douba řezník, naše žíly jsou jak cedník. Řezník Hades Evil D, 3 hlavy totálně vymletý. Hades Evil Douba řezník, naše žíly jsou jak cedník. Řezník Hades Evil D, 3 hlavy totálně vymletý. Hades Evil Douba řezník. Tak mi to snad necháš, ne, ty vole. Do píčí, vole, já ti nechám metrovou a ty mě centák, vole. Ti mrdá, ne? Do hajzlu, vole. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Drogy jsou fajn, už jsou všechny lajny na stole. Fajný režim, co je u mě na stole nastolen. Když jsem na tohle neděl, že do očí jak je boží. Na mým fetu se nikdo nebojí, všichni souloží. Jedu po dálnici, hlídám čáru, jedu high speed. A s námi vletěla až do mozku, teď už nespím. Nejsem agresivní, já jsem kilák na věci. Teď se mi spojí sny, chtíč, naděje i cíl. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Je 5 ráno a hád pořád nespí. Čumím ven z okna a všechno je tak hezký. Oči září, vidíš, já jsem synecký. Upside, vidět again, když se to prej nesmí. Nejsem degen, rozšiřuju vědomí. Zpracovávám podněty v 6 úrovních myšlení. To tweety, ty snech pro ty, co ti to žerou. Když už má člověk dar mysli, chci ji využívat celou. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Zastavit se na toaletě, dát si toaletět. Hard is the limitless. Překročil jsem limit dnes, jsem zhruba 3x6 čar přes. Neříkej mi, jak to neberu, čeku, jak ten mozek jede na jiném levelu. Jsem víc ve střelu než strach, ti hradu, nevím, co je únava, strach nebo pocit hladu. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Pořádně se zešťopat, celý pytel konců vyfrkát, lepší je poslat se, než se vysmrkat. Nauč se mrkat na svýho dílera, díl jak minutu ti netrvá, zabalit zbytek skéra. Už nevíš, co si dát, všechno přestává fungovat, tu mi správně zareagovat, dáš si to všechno znova. Pokryš ho spousty, ať máš sladký život, kdo rozhoduje, jaký má být správný žebříček hodnot. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Drogy jsou dobré, drogy jsou fajn, dám ještě pár line. Drogy jsou dobré, neměj strach, když dáš se k nám, dám ti trochu na kruh. Mám se fajn, je mi skvěle, jsem zdravý duch. Ve světovaném těle jsem raný ptáček, co zube už od rána. I Belgin, aspirin, zyrtek jak varána. To je to pravý pro můj zobáček. Jim dostávám svůj mozek do otáček. Když jsem pod vlivem, můžu jít ven klidem. I v tomhle prostředí škodlivém a to s klidem. Tak se bez rozpaků nakládám do láku. Konzervuju svoje tělo, aby vydrželo. Dokud mám v sobě pár éček, tak se neskazím a vydržím pár zim. Říkám ti, spánek je pro nuly. Chce to po nocích Morgany, po ránu Red Bully. Nebudem bolit, že nám život ujít. A když máme splín, můžeme se zhulit. A když máme splín, můžeme se zhulit. Vykašli se na to zlato, ty nemůžeš za to, že mi je tak, jak mi je. Nejsi to ty, je to jen chemie. Vykašli se na to zlato, ty nemůžeš za to, že mi je tak, jak mi je. Nejsi to ty, je to jen chemie. Žijeme paralelní světy, jsme většině paralelní světy. A před krutou realitou bráníme se chemickou ulitou. Nejzdrogovanější přežívá, Darwin je mrtvej, ať žije Zentiva, pomůže mi od nemoci i od emocí a taky přemoc ten pocit, že nemám život ve svý moci. A hlavně se neptat na důvod svý bolesti, žít si dál svoje soukromí neřesti, připoutat se k pelesti a přemoc osud pomocí lsti. A uznávat stejný hodnoty, jak všichni občané planety Země, hvězdný nebe nade mnou. A všechny ty účinný látky ve mně. A všechny ty účinný látky ve mně. Vykašli se na to zlato, ty nemůžeš za to, že mi je tak, jak mi je. Nejsi to ty, je to jen chemie. Vykašli se na to zlato, ty nemůžeš za to, že mi je tak, jak mi je. Nejsi to ty, je to jen chemie. Jsem plný protilátek, co ve mně uklidňujou zmatek. Ale i přesto, že jsem veselý, vím, že jsem necelý. Jsem frajer, co nevolí a pomocí ampulí si udržuje v kevuli duševní zdraví. Ale už mě to nebaví, vím, že ty stavy uvnitř mý hlavy nejsou praví. Tohle není realita, tohle se nepočítá. Je to jen jako ty pako, je to jen na foko. Je to fešný, ale je to falešný. Je to jen chemie a já jsem mluvie. A vykašli se na to zlato, ty nemůžeš za to, že mi je tak, jak mi je. Nejsi to ty, je to jen chemie. Vykašli se na to zlato, ty nemůžeš za to, že mi je tak, jak mi je. Nejsi to ty, je to jen chemie.
Simon Stoddart is doing something he shouldn't. In fact, no one should be able to.
Is it possible to see a doctor? Sure. As soon as possible.
It's doctor shopping, and it's easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The drug he and so many across Australia are after is the highly addictive painkiller, fentanyl. And doctors know just how dangerous it can be.
I think there was a recent story about a bodybuilder in Gold Coast who put on a fentanyl patch and then he went into a coma and didn't wake up. Yeah.
But invariably, they'll hand you a script for the drug anyway.
Fentanyl patch.
As Simon is finding out, quick scripts for opioids are the norm, not the exception.
It's that simple to go from doctor to doctor and get this. I could easily kill myself with the amount I've got already.
Simon is doing this for good reason though. His mate Angus overdosed on fentanyl prescribed by a doctor. A death he believes would never have happened if doctors did their job properly. He wants them to stop giving the drug out so easily. The number of deaths in Australia has jumped by nearly 2,000%. And even GPs now admit we have a national disaster on our hands.
How would you describe the situation in Australia right now?
It is a disaster. We need to be quite clear here that the use of fentanyl in the community has gotten out of control. So it's time for us as medical practitioners to take action.
By last year, Angus's doctor shopping was completely out of hand and all too easy. In just 3 months, he visited 13 different doctors who prescribed him a lethal 65 fentanyl patches.
Is it possible to see a doctor? Sure. As soon as possible. You been here before? I don't think I have, no.
Simon Stoddart wants to show just how simple it is, visiting 5 clinics asking for fentanyl.
Have you been here before?
For reasons of ethics, he pays for the doctor's visit himself rather than using Medicare, and didn't even have to show his ID, such are the lax standards.
I hurt my back in a motorbike accident a few years ago.
The first doctor is more than happy to help Simon get the drug.
When I was in Adelaide, the doctor gave me, I'm trying to remember the name of it.
You gotta find the right one.
It was a patch.
Yep.
It's called so with an F.
You're talking fentanyl.
Fentanyl, that's it.
Just minutes after sitting down, the doctor is printing the script.
And there's a fentanyl patch.
Thank you.
Doctor number 2, and same story. No ID required.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But still, a script for opioids is handed over for Simon's invented back pain. It just gets easier and easier. Doctor number 3 talks openly about the fact that other patients of his have abused fentanyl.
I've actually had a patient back in rehab who melted his fentanyl patch and injected it.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No.
But that still doesn't stop him from prescribing the deadly drug again.
Okay, so there's 3 patches. Each patch will last 3 days.
The next doctor makes it 4 from 4.
Alright. Looks like you've got some back pain.
Handing over the fentanyl script after a consultation that lasts less than 5 minutes.
Alright. You're very, very welcome.
I mean, it's pretty easy in general, but that was the easiest by a long way. Straight in, straight out.
Australia's rapidly growing fentanyl problem is starting to follow the American path, where opioid addictions have been declared a national emergency. Last year alone, more than 64,000 people in the US died from opioid overdoses. Pop superstar Prince is among the victims to have lost his life at the hands of fentanyl, and more recently, Demi Lovato also overdosed. The crisis is so serious, President Trump is now pushing for the toughest penalty of all for anyone who sells the drug on the black market.
If we don't get tough on the drug dealers, we're wasting our time. Just remember that. We're wasting our time. And that toughness includes the death penalty.
Noticed anything strange about your doctor? Does he seem happier than usual these days? Is he quick to prescribe drugs you think you might not need? You know what? One more, actually. Does his waiting room frequently feature surprisingly attractive, not sick-looking people? Well, that may be because your doctor's been taking pharmaceutical money. Pharmaceutical money takes many forms, from free lunches to speaking fees. Here's how it works. Money combines with the cash receptors in your doctor's wallet to create fast-acting financial relief, so your doctor can rest easy and enjoy life. Common side effects of doctors taking money may include chronic overprescription, unusually heavy cash flow, dependency on free samples, inflammation of confidence, affluenza, and an increased tendency to suggest off-label prescriptions, which in turn can cause heart attack, stroke, loss of feeling in arms and legs, seizures, blurred vision, grinding of the teeth, temporary deafness, total blindness, numbness, sudden bursts of rage, reduction of trust, angry erections lasting over 17 hours, and death. Ask your doctor today if he's taking pharmaceutical company money. Then ask your doctor what the money is for. Ask your doctor if he's taken any money from the companies who make the drugs he just prescribed for you. Then ask yourself if you're satisfied with that answer. Pharmaceutical money. Ask your doctor if his taking it is right for you.